Welcome to this episode of the People Dividend Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Horne, and today we're going to dive into some topics that are familiar just to about everyone in the studio audience in human resources, in people and culture activities, in people leading teams and organizations. And this is all about the power of connection, the power of storytelling, and what it means for leadership in the modern workplace. And we have a great guest today who's going to take us through all of that. It's Stephen Seidel, who is a TEDx keynote speaker, media expert, and a leadership coach. He's the award-winning founder of the Seidel Agency, and he spent over 25 years helping leaders to rewrite their stories, to craft their stories, to build authentic brands, and foster cultural alignment. He's a best-selling author, co-founder of the men's products Gents Journey. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate the opportunity.
I'm so glad that you're here. So let's talk about your career,
Sure.
which has been in PR, media,
Yeah.
marketing, leadership coaching. You've done some phenomenal things in terms of brand launches. But so what inspired you to focus on helping leaders now? I mean, rewrite their stories and build authentic connections.
That's a great question, Mike. So I'm going to go back to the beginning really quickly. I'll do it quickly. So when I was younger, my parents divorced when I was one, and so I found myself in between my mom and my dad. I became a people pleaser. I now call myself a recovering people pleaser, but I early on realized the value of connection. I was connecting with my mom. I was connecting with my dad. I was connecting with my baseball community, and I found myself in a position where if I could truly connect, then ultimately it proved to be a better day. And then as I moved forward, my mission became to do good, give back, and make an impact as I built a strong community. So I've gone through various stages of my career. I was an engineer at Penn State, and then I eventually found this creative vibe that was stuck inside. So I partnered the left brain with the right brain, created my agency. And so at the end of the day, connection is currency. When we connect to ourselves, when we connect to our community, and for HR reps, we really want to have that cultural alignment where we connect with our company. And so what I found when working with a lot of organizations, I started to work with their C-suite, their founders, a lot of their VPs, is that our work together, we were able to determine, there's the story that we have written ourselves, there's the story that we tell ourselves, and then there's the story that we share. And so diving deeper, obviously there's the 80-20 rule where we want to come from a mental perspective, where we have these strong beliefs. To me, connection is currency, but the through line through it all are the stories that essentially connect us through that. And that's where it pertains to your employees. It pertains to your target audience, and it pertains to ultimately you and what your goal is in life.
Stephen, you've tried to make a difference in the marketplace, different products, and you've also worked with change makers across industries. Maybe you're a change maker yourself, I think.
Yeah.
So what's one moment that really, one moment or one project that really stands out to you as a turning point in your career?
Mike,
I
that's a
love the
great.
story about, being one and being a people pleaser and attending to that issue, but what's the one point that really stands out for you in your career?
So for me, I've noticed, and it's happened in the past couple of years, we had the pandemics. The most challenging moment for me when I was at my rock bottom was in 2020. I created my agency and we relocated this agency. It's a virtual agency from LA, Los Angeles to Lexington. It's where my wife is from. And so at that moment, I had virtual employees. I didn't know anybody where we lived. I relocated because this was my wife's, hometown state. And then, we had the pandemic. So I felt thoroughly disconnected. And then on top of that, I had a 1-month-old baby. So I went through every major occurrence in my life, was whether it was relocating my business. The clients started to wither away due to the pandemic. Fortunately, I was a virtual company. And then I found out that my mom had cancer. And so that was the most definitive moment in my life to date. Right now, I became her caretaker. She moved into our home. And so the room that I was running my business out of, it was no longer available. I had to operate from my laundry room. And that moment was probably the most challenging moment. My marriage was on the line. My business was on the line. Me as a father and my dream of being, an innovator, both in business and personally, was all at stake. And so I had to turn inward and really figure out, say, look, there are a lot of people counting on me. I'm counting on me. I need to love myself and I need to find a way out of this. And I knew I needed a community. And so I created a men's community. I went around, we're a product of the 5 most closest people in our community. And I said, look, I need to connect with my growth friends. And those were entrepreneurs, they were fathers, and they were also business executives and visionaries. And so we came together every Monday and we discussed our problems. Eventually my mom passed, and that's what I did my TEDx talk about. But the death of a parent, the loss of a job, bankruptcy, legal matters in your businesses, and what it looks like to be a man in today's world versus 50 years ago when our parents were doing it. It looks totally different. And so we dove deep on how to become a man, a leader, and a true founder, father in today's world. And it was that moment that Gents Journey was created. And that's the true work for me right now. I love to work with leaders, but at the end of the day, I want to provide with mental health and make sure that everybody feels worth it, that they are in a safe space, and that they have the ability to share their story. And when they share their story, they can inspire others.
It's interesting. Are you a coach for men? Are you a men's coach? I mean, it seems that so many of these skills would apply to any gender.
Yeah, they apply to any gender. For me, it's the people that I work with. When you are a leader, you work with females, you work with males. I was raised by powerful women. I'm a girl dad. My great grandmother came over from Poland to Ellis Island. They wanted to send her back because nobody was going to bring her into the country. She used grit, determination, and perseverance to make sure she landed on the soil here in the United States. Had that never happened, I wouldn't be here. And so for me, it's a modern male. And so when working with leaders, we have to communicate. We have to value individuals for who they are. And so I work with anyone, regardless of who you are, male, female, however you define yourself. But at the end of the day, we need to understand that being vulnerable is not just something that's for women or female, how it was positioned in the past. We all can embrace vulnerability within our story so that we can be invincible in the way that we lead.
Amazing. And you talk about one of your keynote topics is connection as currency.
Sure,
The human advantage over AI. And it seems that
sure,
over the past year, I've given presentations, I've led so many panels on AI and human resources, how AI is changing jobs in human resources. And actually, just
sure.
led a great panel with some HR executives from Visa and
Great.
NASDAQ 200 company and others. But what's with your story, human advantage over AI? Let's talk about connection as currency.
Sure. So you know as well as I do, back in the day we had a Rolodex, right? So we had a group of people that we connected with personally, professionally, and that became our community. Now with the explosion of social media, we have access to other people, we have acquaintances, colleagues. And so the more that we can connect, and I strongly encourage face to face, eye to eye, heart to heart, so that we can be in the presence of others. But the more that we can connect with them and really see people for who they are, and then we can lead with intention, the stronger that we will be in the age of AI, because that'll not only broaden our horizons and put us in different positions and fields should we need to branch out or find different opportunities, but partnering the soft skills of being empathetic. I like to tell the people when I work with them and we coach with AR reps, we want to go from good to great. We want to be grateful. We want to be reflective. We want to be empathetic. We want to be accountable, and we want to be transformational. We don't have to go to work. We get to go to work. We don't want to go for happiness. We want to come from happiness. And there are these simple shifts when we are in alignment. When I talk about connection as currency, when we are connected to our calling, when we are connected to our company and the company that we keep, as well as the community and or your consumers, we can generate that win-win-win. But that comes with actually feeling, experiencing, and being in their presence. And those soft skills are crucial so that we can actually experience the people that we're working with. And then we partner those soft skills with AI. AI is simply a tool. It's like a hammer. We have a hammer, we hit a nail. So AI is a tool that we can leverage, but the way that I foresee it is we still need to have individuals that we work with, that we care for, and the stories that we share are unlike any other. As a human being, we've gone through things that are totally unique that certain softwares may not have the ability to ascertain. In my TEDx talk, I talk a lot about the fries at the bottom of the bag that I shared with my mom, my best friend when I lost her. And those moments were probably the most important moments in my life. And so I would literally give her the fries at the bottom of the bag. We know that they're the best ones anyways, but those special moments that I experienced, it brought me to a position where I was connected. I was open. I was available. Nothing else mattered. I was present in that moment. And I don't think that something like AI, ChatGPT, Claude, or any of those tools can into that moment. So those are the tools that we experience from the human advantage. It's the connection that we experience to create that win-win-win.
Yeah, I think so true. In my work, Stephen Seidel, I talk about dignity, kindness, and respect as sort of the key ingredients in this transformational era with work as we embrace the 4-day work week, as work becomes distributed in so many other places. It's these types of skills that go beyond engagement, that build better organizations, however you define organization, particularly with the advance of the gig economy and people
Sure.
putting together so many different things. So, and I read something recently about AI and this human connection, and someone said that they had a practice. This leader had a practice of letting people bring their AI agents to a meeting, and she was finally perplexed though because it seemed that there were more AI agents in the room than there were people. And it's
Sure.
just an interesting way to think about
Yeah. Well,
work
and you
and
talk about
connection.
people, the people dividend. I think if you're really going to build a successful company from an HR perspective, there's a couple core competencies that you need. So one of them being the SOPs, standard operating
Yeah.
procedures, and we're going to either do, delegate, or delete those tasks. For you, it's the people, it's the talent. And so, what can you as a person bring from your connection and your talent that makes you unique? What's going to be the advantage that you know? So, for me, Mike, we've talked. I've learned a little bit more about you. So I have a little bit more understanding of who you are. I know about your podcast. So these are ways where we can learn more and I can touch you in your heart, not necessarily your brain and the way that you think and the analytical perspective, but we want to separate ourselves 18 inches and really get into the heart and have that heart to heart and come from a place of love.
Well, I think you've said it. I mean, so well. I mean, and it's really a nice bridge from our conversation about AI and large language models and people is, I mean, storytelling. I mean, this is one of your themes. It's such a powerful tool, you say, for leaders to foster connection and build authentic movements. Why is it so effective? I mean, and how do you use it to strengthen your mission?
Sure, that's a great question. Story, like I said, is the connective tissue. When we work in an organization, we typically go through 4 steps. We start with your mission. We want to make sure that your core beliefs, your values are in alignment from a cultural alignment perspective. Then we focus on your message. Obviously, that's your narrative. How are we going to position that? How are we going to present yourself? I help X do Y so that Z, different things like that. And then third, we want to get into your media and that's your community and your marketing. Oftentimes people flip it when they're
Hmm.
pushing things up. But lastly, we want to build a movement. And that's where that connective piece is really crucial because people can get behind you. They can vote with their dollar, they can vote with their clicks, they can vote with their time. And that story is the integral component. And it's been proven. You look at Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey, where any movie that you see, it starts with the inciting incident. And for you, what's the inciting incident? When you start at a job or an organization, you're wanting to be in alignment. What are your highest commitments? Those are the things that you're fighting for. And you're going to be given a moment of adversity in which you're going to be down and out and you need to find a way through that. And those are the moments, what we go through, we grow through. Those are the moments that take us to the promised land so that we can achieve our journey, our dream. So that's the story that we're telling. And as we go through that, every story, if you look at any story, any movie, regardless, any literature typically has a best friend or someone along their side. That could be the B story, the A storyline, but that best friend is really crucial to believing in yourself and to believing in the world around you. And that's where that connection as currency comes into place. And why Jen's journey and some of the work that we're doing, it's helping men, but it's also helping the females and everybody in their community connect on a deeper level. And we developed a really cool tool. It's called the Journey Deck. We also have a newsletter, but we've taken the 50 most pertinent questions from our meetings and we put them into a card deck. And so instead of talking to somebody about, even at work or personally, about the rain or the weather or your cell phone or, what are you doing this weekend? We want to go deeper because when we go deeper, that's where the true growth lies. And so we have this really cool thing. It's called Jen's Journey, the Journey Deck, and there's 52 questions, actually not 50, that are connective questions. We don't need to have the answers. We simply need to ask the questions and we grow together. So Mike, I'd love to ask if you would be open to answering one of these questions.
Absolutely, sure. Go for it.
So I'm a big Magic fan. So it's kind of a deck of cards for anybody who's listening. I'm going to go through the cards. You tell me when to stop and I'll ask the question.
Stop.
Okay, this is a great one. The question is, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, I wanted to be right here doing what I'm doing in this moment in time, talking with Stephen Seidel, talking with Steve Seidel. and uncovering more of his story to bring it to our listeners to make a better world. So I think about, all of my work as an adult has been in coaching, mentoring, and teaching roles, whether I've done that in very big consulting firms or as an executive in Fortune 100 companies. This has all been about helping people to bring more of who they are to what they do. And I think that's great I see the connection in your work. Did I have a job as, doctor, firefighter? None of those kinds of things. It was more of these conceptual work. And I think my entire career has been designed around that. And that's what you talk about, Steve, is you talk about having this resilience and ability to reinvent in a world that's constantly changing. So how do you stay resilient? I mean, I reinvented myself a long time ago and many times
Yeah.
in order to stay current with my clients.
I threw out an acronym earlier. I'm a big acronym fan. Resilience, I was an actor in the past. I've sort of, gone through a multitude of things on my journey. And so with that, I focus on grit. So gratitude, there's resilience, there's integrity and trust. And I recently competed in this Survivor in a Day challenge this past weekend. It's like the Survivor game, but it's only one day. And same thing, really connecting, connection is currency, getting deeper into people's stories, making sure that they're seen and that they know that they are somebody that is valued. And that way moving forward, when we go forward with grit, there's going to be rejection, but we fail forward. And when we take action, we build momentum. And so for HR reps or anybody out there who's trying to really build a career or move forward, going back to what did you want to be when you grew up, there's a really great activity in a book. It's called The Spiritual Guide to Higher Creativity by Julia
Mm.
Cameron. She has an exercise. There's two exercises. One is where you write a stream of consciousness every day, 2 pages. And that's getting the things out of your head and putting it on paper. You start to recognize trends. She has an activity. What did you want to be when you grew up? Go back to those moments, think about that, and then try and inject that into your week. So for me, it was 5 different things. I'm not going to go on about them. One was a magician. You saw me doing the cards. But if you can find those individual moments, it restores that sense of play, and if it's fun, it gets done. And then you can bring that into the workforce so that when you move forward, whether it's a meeting, whether it's a project, whether you're simply showing up on time to your job or your place of employment, you're bringing that sense of play. So it doesn't feel like it's essentially work. And if it's fun, it gets done.
Wow, that's great. It's really been such an inspiring conversation, Steve. And I'm sure that our listeners would love to learn more about your work, your coaching, your keynotes. Where do they get in touch with you? How do they find out more about the work that Stephen Seidel does?
Sure. Thanks so much for asking. So my name is Stephen Seidel. If they go to stephenseidel.com, that's STEPHENSEIDEL.com. And if you go to stephenseidel.com/media, I have a really cool tool for you all. It's 4 free platforms that you can build and acquire your own press. So as you begin to rewrite your story and navigate that and build your most authentic self and become an expert in your field as we battle the age of AI, you can begin to work with journalists. You can work with other providers so that they can help elevate your story to the highest stages. And if you're somebody seeking coaching or speaking, you can find out more at stephenseidel.com. And then on YouTube, you can check out my TEDx talk about the loss of my mom, because we're all going to lose someone. It's called The Hidden Power of Grief. And the final thing that I say in that speech is a quote from Rumi, and I'd love to share it with you all. Goodbyes are for those who love with their eyes, because for those who love with their heart and soul, there is no such thing as separation. Love never ends.
Well, maybe that is the perfect place to wrap up this conversation and this episode on that upbeat note and those wonderful thoughts from Stephen Seidel. You'll be able to find out all the places that Stephen's just suggested when you take a look at the show notes for today's episode. So take a look. You'll find out ways to get in touch with Stephen and learn more about his coaching and keynote work and other activities that he's involved in. So, Stephen, we've come to an end. I mean, I thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your experiences with us today. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mike. It's been an honor to speak with you, and thank you for the work that you do. I value people. I mean, without people in this world, where would we be? We all need friends. We all need community. So thank you so much for your consulting and everything you do.
Well, thank you. And really, let's continue the thank yous here. And that's to all of our listeners today who tuned into this episode of the People Dividend Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who could use a little inspiration, just like Stephen Seidel brings. See you next time. Until then, stay well.